Hello, folks, and welcome to. Oh, my voice is breaking. I'm so excited and nervous. It's back to school tomorrow. Back to school tomorrow, everybody. Oh, blimey. This is the big day. This is the big one. This is what we've been waiting for. I'm sure you've all seen last year's back to school video. It's where 95% of you probably found the channel. Oh, what is going to happen tomorrow, boys and girls? That's what we're going to be talking about. That's why we're live on YouTube rather than you now. I thought, you know what, we'll just do a quick little live chat because I know lots of people have got lots of back to school questions, whether it's questions about what we're expecting from Andy, questions about what Lucy's doing, questions about whatever, anything to do with back to school, which is tomorrow. Questions about the video from this time last year, the back to school meltdown video that we put out. So we're doing things a little bit differently from how we normally do these live streams because we are targeting it in specifically on back to school, and it's probably going to be shorter than one of the normal live streams are because I am streaming on Twitch tonight. So those of you who've been waiting for my Twitch return, that is coming tonight at 9 o'clock. So it's not going to be the longest stream in the world, but I reckon maybe half an hour or so. Get through as many questions as you've got. We'll try and keep it loosely on the topic of back to school. That's why I'm going to try and guide the conversation. But obviously, if you want to ask a question about anything else, I'm not going to turn you away. Just I will prioritize the ones that are on the topic of back to school when I look at the screen. But before we get up and running, I would massively appreciate it if you could give the stream a nice big thumbs up, because thumbs ups, liking streams, liking videos makes it so much easier for them to show up in the algorithm, so show up on search results. If we could get that likes up to 100, 150 likes, there's 250 of you watching. It's not unreasonable to get up around 150 likes, but 150 likes on 250 people watching, that's going to set off the stream alarm up at YouTube Towers, and we'll start appearing in search results, appearing in the algorithm, etc. So as soon as we get to 100 likes, we'll start cracking on through the questions. I have got a cup of coffee as normal, like I do on you now. So I have the cup of coffee ready. I might not even make it to because it's a big cup in it's a lot of coffee in a big metal cup. It's not going to cool down very quickly. Or does metal make it cool down quicker? Perhaps I need to go back to school, but we will be fine. One other thing as well, because there's so many of you watching and the chat does move so quickly. If I could ask, if you have got a question for me, can you tag me into the question? So at Kevin Chapman, it just makes it flash up in red on my screen, makes it easier for me to see. It still doesn't guarantee I'm going to see your question because with the chat moving as quickly as it is, it's still pretty difficult to. But if you at me on it, it makes it a lot more likely for me to see it. Lil Gucci, thank you very much for the super chat. That's very kind of you. What year is Andy in? Right. Andy will be going into, if Andy was in a mainstream school, he would be going into year 10. But the school that he's in, they don't have it separated into year groups. It's more done on ability and disability, if that makes sense. So what their academic ability is, but also what the reason for being at the special needs school is. So Andy is in a class with other children who've got autism. It's not a specific autism school, but he is with children who've got autism. And he's with students of a similar ability level throughout the age group. So he's actually already in the top class for the kids with autism. So he will stay in that class for the next 3 years now until he gets to the end of year 11, or 2 years until the end of year 11. Yeah, because is he going into year 10? Yeah, he's going into year 10 because Amy's going into year 8. Lucy's going into year 12. Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. Oh, my word. Look at all the questions. Goodness me. All right, I need to try and slow this down a little bit so I can pick some out. Is Lucy looking forward to starting college? She is. She's really looking forward to it. A nice, clean break from school. She'd had enough of school, but she is very much looking forward to starting college. She starts college tomorrow with Andy and Amy going back to their previous schools. Lucy's starting college tomorrow. They're all really excited. Andy has been singing about his TA all afternoon. I keep trying to catch it on camera, but whenever I point the camera at him, he stops. But he's been playing if you remember the Super Hexagon song, we did a whole video of him dancing to the Super Hexagon song. He's been playing that song and singing the name of his TA and singing about the taxi. It is such a contrast from last year, where he was, by this point, he was already close to meltdown the night before because he just didn't want to go back. It's night and day from where we were this time last year. And he doesn't have school uniform. The uniform at Andy's school is optional. We have got him this year. If you watch the back to school clothes shopping video that we put out a couple of days ago. We have got, he only wears jeans. He doesn't like the feel of other trousers. So we've got him some black jeans and some white polo shirts. We're not going to try him with those tomorrow because it's such a big departure from what he normally wears, but we are going to slowly try and transition him into black jeans and white polos as the year goes on. And that'll be as close as he needs to get to uniform, but the uniform is absolutely optional. What time will Andy get up tomorrow? I mean, he's been getting up at 4, half 4 all summer holidays. So part of me thinks we'll have to wake him up tomorrow. It'll be one way or the other. Either he'll be up at 2, really, really excited and waking us up, or because he knows it's different to what his routine has been for the last 6 weeks, he'll just sleep in and let us wake him up. It's really no way knowing one way or the other. If he's still asleep at 7, we'll wake him up then. Right, let's scroll the chat on a little bit and try and get caught up. What do I do if I don't like one of my new teachers? Just kind of grit your teeth and get on with it, I guess, is all you can do. I don't think there was ever a year when I was at school where I liked every teacher that I had. You don't have to like them, just, especially if you're at secondary school and you're only seeing that teacher for like 3 or 4 lessons a week, or maybe less than that even. If you don't like them, you kind of just have to grin and bear it. It's just like a taster of what adult life is like. You never like everybody you work with. You never like everybody you go places with. There's always someone you don't get on with. Hopefully it shouldn't be too much of a big deal. Right, let's pick out another question. Is Lucy doing A levels, and if so, what subject she's doing? She's doing a level 3 health and social care extended diploma is what she's doing. She wants to go and do nursing at university, and this is the university she spoke to suggested this was a good route towards doing it. So she's specializing early because she's absolutely adamant she wants to go and do nursing at university. And this was the course that was recommended to her. So an extended diploma in health and social care, which gets her practical experience as well as just academic, which will suit her perfectly. She doesn't like sitting in classrooms all day, every day. Any advice for starting college? Really just go in with an open mind. If you're going from a school environment into a college environment, it is very different. It suits some people, it doesn't suit other people. You'll work out fairly quickly if it's for you, but it's certainly a lot more flexible. But don't let that trick you into getting lazy, because it can sometimes feel like some of the stuff is optional. Oh, it's optional to go to my lessons. It's optional to do my homework. But really, if you treat it with the same attitude as you would at school, but then just take the fact that you get more free periods and more free time, then college is awesome and you'll love it. All right, where did we get to? Any advice on bullying? I mean, I was a teacher for 5 years, so my advice on bullying is probably the same as the advice you'd get from any teacher. You just need to tell an adult, whether that's your teacher, your form tutor, or a TA. I know it can sometimes feel like the worst case scenario. It's the last thing you want to do because you're worried it's going to escalate the bullying. But if you talk to an adult that you trust, they will take it seriously and they will help you through it. And it is always the best course of action, even if it doesn't feel like it is. When I was a teacher, what did I teach? I taught computer science. How many safe spaces are there in Andy's school? I don't know how many there are. I know there's one right next to his classroom, and there was one right next to his old classroom. So maybe there's one right next to every classroom, but there's certainly plenty. I am Andy's stepdad. Yes. If I called you an attention seeker, I should probably block you. So there we go. That's blocked you again. Is Andy looking forward to Goose Fair? He is. Right, let's scroll back through and try and find some more questions that are on the topic of back to school. Remember, we're trying to keep it roughly focused in on back to school this evening. It's going to be a shorter, sharper Q&A than what we normally do. So try and keep it targeted in on back to school. If you have got a question for me, try and tag me in it at Kevin Chapman, because then it literally flashes it up in red on my screen, makes it easier for me to see. Does Andy do GCSE and A levels? He hasn't done yet. He won't be this year. He might do at some point. It really depends on how he develops. Do my old pupils watch the channel? Some do, I guess. There's probably some watching right now. There's nearly 500 people watching. I would suggest there's at least one of my former students in those 500 people. Let me know if you're one of my former students. Don't tell me who you are. because I'm still not sure what the safeguarding rules are there. But I see him around about in town sometimes. I sometimes see him in the backgrounds of my videos. There were a couple of old students in the background of the shopping video we did at the weekend. I didn't even notice them at the time, but I noticed them when I was editing the video. Someone just asked, why does Andy get a taxi to school? But it scrolled on. I think that was the question. I saw why does Andy and then taxi at the end. So I guess that's where you were going with that. Andy gets a taxi to school because just like anybody who's a long way away from their school, he's entitled to free transport through the county council. His school is 10 miles away. It's the closest special school to where we live. But because it's 10 miles away, it's not realistic to expect us to get in there every day, because that would involve, well, at the time when he started there, that would have involved me getting to work super late. Even now, it would involve me spending, I don't know, an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4 of my work day going back and forth to his school twice. So it's not something that any school would expect parents to do. He was originally going on a minibus, but he had major problems on the minibus. The minibus was one of the reasons why he started refusing school. He was pinched and bitten by other kids on there. He didn't like the experience at all. So it actually became part of his EHCP, his educational healthcare plan, that he became entitled to individual transport to and from school. So individual transport to and from school is in the form of a taxi. So it's not, we're not like ringing up the local taxi firm and just sticking him in a taxi. It's a specialist school transport company with a trained driver and a PA in there, personal assistant for Andy. And so there's 2 adults with him, and it gets him to and from school every day. It's always the same team. It just works. What is Andy's favourite subject at school? Probably, I would say ICT or maths, probably. Maths is certainly the one he's best at, although he's getting really good at English now. Yeah, his reading age has come on massively, but he does really enjoy ICT, anything with tech. Does Anna go to PRC? She did. She doesn't anymore. She was just doing a 1-year science GCSE there. She still goes to the university next door. PRC is Peterborough Regional College. Could we go on holiday midterm? I guess we could. We wouldn't, because I'm not like super irresponsible. I don't see there's much benefit to going on holiday midterm. It takes kids out of education. They get 13 weeks off school a year. I think we can make do with 13 weeks holiday. Do you have to buy back to school or pens and pencils, or does he use his iPad? None of the above. We don't have to buy any of the stuff. All the stuff is supplied at school, but he doesn't take his iPad to school. He has access to an iPad at school, but he doesn't do his work on an iPad. The iPad is there as a reward. But yeah, they use pens and pencils and stuff, but he doesn't have to take them. And Jacob's question kind of links into what would happen if you forgot your pens or pencils or any equipment. That's the reason why it's supplied by school, just to make sure it's always a consistent stuff. Everyone uses the same stuff and it's always there on hand. How many people are in Andy's class? There's about, last year there were 6 kids. Now we don't know what the makeup of that class is going to be this year. There's only room in the room. There's only space for 6 children in the classroom, but there might be fewer than that this year because they do move the kids around from different groups, but he's staying in the same class as last year. So chances are it might even be the same 6 kids again. Right, I'm just scrolling through looking for more questions on back to school, which is a topic we're trying to stick on. How's Andy's handwriting? Functional is the nicest way to describe it. It's not particularly neat. He doesn't care. It's not something he's bothered about improving. So yeah, it's functional. It gets the job done, but it's not pretty. Advice on year 7. My advice on going into year 7 is very similar to my advice on going into college. Just go in with an open mind, expect to enjoy it, and you'll be fine. For me, and I think for my kids as well, all 3 of them, going into, maybe not Andy, maybe he preferred primary school, but for different reasons. But going into secondary school has been so much more fun and exciting than being at primary school, because you get to specialize in stuff. If you're into music or sports or drama or computer stuff, there's so much more facilities and equipment at secondary school, and you get to really drill down and do that stuff in more depth and really do the stuff that you enjoy. So for me, secondary school was awesome. You should really enjoy it. Is he well behaved at school? He is. I mean, Andy's well behaved everywhere. I don't remember the last time he deliberately misbehaved. Sometimes he gets trapped in his own routines, and sometimes he has sensory overloads, and sometimes he has meltdowns, but he very, very, very rarely actually misbehaves. And thankfully, because he's at a specialist school, they recognise that. And we've never had reports of any behaviour problems from Andy ever in, I mean, what is he now, going into year 10? So 11 years of school. There's never been reports of any behaviour problems. Even when he was in mainstream school, when he was really small, and he did lash out and got violent, it wasn't reported as a behaviour problem because it was understood why he was doing it. And that's what made it clear that mainstream school wasn't suitable for him. And that's how he got into a special school in the first place. Does Andy want to have a job when he's older? I don't think he really understands the concept of job at the moment. I imagine he probably will want to. I don't know what it would be. We've already said Andy's going into year 10. Does Andy use any Chewy Gems or sensory toys in school? He does. He has one Chewy Gem thing that clips onto his bag, so it's always with him when he goes to and from school. He usually takes one in the taxi as well. Plus, they have access to sensory toys and like chewy things at school as well. But he always has at least 2 with him. Do you wonder how he'll do in his GCSE when he gets to it? No. I don't know when he'll do it. I don't know if he'll do it, and it doesn't matter how he does when he gets there. I mean, I've made videos before about how I feel about GCSEs and how they're not as important as schools make out, and people get far too stressed out about them. And knowing what I know about how important they are, it's something that I'll support Andy in doing if he ever wants to, but I'll never make him do it, and I won't force him to do well in it because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, especially not for Andy. How many lessons a day does he do? It's not really structured in broken up into lessons. He's always in the same room, and it's in much smaller chunks than lessons. So they'll perhaps do a 5-minute or 10-minute chunk of work, and they're always trying to extend that time. So it probably started as maybe a 1-minute chunk, and it gradually moves on. The end goal is to try and move towards longer lesson-sized chunks, but they're probably working on 5 to 10-minute chunks at the moment. So he has 1 task to complete, or maybe 2 tasks in a 5 or 10-minute chunk. Then he'll get some time for him, usually on the iPad, or sometimes in a sensory room, or the safe spaces, just to decompress and get it out of his system, which that might be 5 or 10 minutes, and he'll rotate back into tasks again. And he knows that in order to get to do what he wants, he also has to do what they want. And it's a system that works. It's another reason why mainstream school just wouldn't work for him. And it's another reason why exams just aren't an option at the moment, because even if he got to the point where his ability at the subject was enough for him to be able to do it, and I would suggest, based on where he is now in maths and English, in 2 years' time, when he'd be at the end of year 11, he probably would have the maths ability and the English ability to get a maths GCSE and an English GCSE. But the thing he's very unlikely to be able to do then is sit for an hour and a half and complete an exam, because he's never worked in that way. He's not able to work in that way. So just exams in general aren't realistic. They're just not doable. Right, let's have a little look. Opinion on college dropouts. Depends why they dropped out. Does he have more than 1 teacher? There's a couple of other teachers around the school, but he has 1 main class teacher. Yes, his school does teach basic life skills. Even stuff as simple as going to the toilet, it's all reinforced. It's not, so they're not just left. He's never on his own at any point. He's never left to his own devices. It's all about helping him become more independent, develop better social skills, and preparing for adult life in whatever form that takes for Andy. What actually is a sensory room? So a sensory room is a room that's designed to stimulate sensory inputs. So often what you see in there is you'll see music, but there'll like be soft music, low lighting, maybe some different colored lights. They often have things like lava lamps and different patterns of lights, maybe some kind of touch screen thing with some kind of relaxing game on there. There'll be bean bags and soft play, and it's just really a room to allow him to get whatever sensory input he needs to help him through whatever situation that he's in, or even just to help him chill out. Spencer, thank you very much for the super chat. Do I think Andy enjoys school? Yeah, I think he does enjoy school now. I think once it became part of his routine, he did start enjoying it. And yeah, I think he really does enjoy school at this point. He's really looking forward to going back. Has at any time over the summer Andy said he's not going to school? Not even once. I don't think we're going to have any problems at all tomorrow. We've kind of got tomorrow's vlog set aside to record in the morning. So usually we record a vlog and then I have read it that night or the next morning and release it the next day. But we've only got like 4 minutes of footage from today deliberately, because the video that comes out tomorrow, we plan on recording it before 9 a.m. in the morning and then editing it together in the morning, because we want to show you what back to school is like as quickly as possible. But I'm like 80% sure at this point that it's going to be, here's Andy, he's up having his breakfast, the taxi's here, he's just gone. And I'm going to be like, oh, what am I supposed to do for the rest of this vlog? I don't think we're going to have any problems. I could be wrong. And obviously we've got the slot there if we do have any problems, but I hope we don't. I don't think we will. I think it's going to be a really, really massive sign of how far he's come in the last year. So just reminds, we're probably going to be streaming for another 10 minutes or so. I said it was going to be quite a short one tonight, just really tight in on back to school. So just a reminder for those final 10 minutes, we are trying to keep the questions focused in on back to school because it's back to school tomorrow. So we want to keep the questions focused in on that as much as we can. I'll certainly select the back to school questions before any others. If you've got other questions you're desperate to ask, feel free to ask them, or you might be better off saving them for you now tomorrow night. But yeah, back to school questions. And if you could tag me in the questions, it makes it easier for me to see them, easier for me to find them. So at Kevin Chapman, then your question. By tagging me into the question, it flashes it up in red on my screen, makes it much easier for me to see. What age does Andy's school go up to? Andy's school goes all the way up to age 19, and it's already all but confirmed that he will be in his school until he's 19. So he's got another 5 years in that school. And once he's post 16, so he'll be in the class he's in now for the next 2 years. Once he turns 16, he'll move up into their sixth form, which is a 3-year program, which is really, really focused on independent skills and getting him ready for their end game. Their goal for every one of their students when they finish the end of their sixth form at age 19 is that they're ready to go to college and they're ready to move out into some kind of assisted living. Now, we don't know if Andy will want to go to college at that point, and we don't know if we want him to move out into assisted living at that point. But the theory is, by the time he's finished the next 5 years in his school that he's in now, he should be ready to do those two things. That's what they're aiming towards. Reaction to last year's back to school video blowing up. I have mixed feelings on it, because it's obviously been a massive benefit for the channel. I mean, it's had over 2 million views now, last year's back to school video, which is insane. And that video alone has probably given us 40,000 subscribers of people who are genuinely interested in our lives, in Andy, in our story. But anyone who's running the maths in their head now is probably already coming to the same conclusions I've got to. Out of 2 million people, we only found 40,000 who were interested in our story, who were interested in our channel. That's a very, very, very low conversion rate. Part of that's going to be because it's not a very good video, because it's not. It's 3 minutes of me talking in the garden, then some of Andy screaming, then me talking in a car park. It's not a particularly engaging video. So I can understand maybe there's 100,000 people who might have subscribed if it was a better video, but there's still nearly 2 million people who've clicked on that video thinking it's a meme. They've clicked on that video thinking it was mocking autistic people. And that's reflected in the comments, because every day I have to delete 30 comments on that video. I have to block 30 people from the channel, because every single day there's trolls turning up in the comments to that video. And I wish there was a way I would happily give back 1.5 million of those views if it was all the ones that were trolly ones, and stop it from appearing. I mean, someone sent me a link on Twitter the other day to a picture they'd taken from one of Memulus's videos. He wasn't mocking Andy, it wasn't mocking the video or anything, but Memulus was showing up. If you don't know who Memulus is, he's a YouTuber who does stuff about memes, amongst other things. But he showed his own recommended, and he had all the sort of stuff you'd expect him to watch, but on his recommended was our back to school video. Andy's face was looking back at us, and there was no other family vloggers on there. There was no other back to school videos on there. That video wasn't being shown to him because it was the kind of content that he would enjoy. it was being shown to him because somehow the YouTube algorithm has got it in its head that people who enjoy memes and laughing at kids will enjoy this video. It all started because someone posted it on Reddit like October time and laughed at it, and it's just snowballed from there. And unfortunately, it's kind of got itself profiled as a video that it's not. And when people get onto it, they see that it's obviously not mocking Andy. It's not a negative video. It's just a normal vlog. But oh, it's so annoying that so many numpties find their way onto that video. So yeah, that's my very long-winded reaction to last year's back to school video blowing up. And yeah, it's obviously the channel wouldn't be where it is without it. But at the same time, we would have gone through a lot less anguish and abuse and trolling and just general unpleasantness if it hadn't have ever existed. Does Andy play any sports? He does. He plays golf at school. He plays football at school. He does some basketball. He likes most of the stuff they do in PE. He really enjoys it. When it comes to your son in the morning of the school day, would you say there anything that you have to adapt due to the fact that he's autistic? I mean, yeah, it has to be a rock solid routine is the biggest adaptation. It has to be the same TV station on the same channels at the same time. He puts his clothes on at the same time in the same order, and everything has to be right. When the Winter Olympics were on, around, was it January time or December, whenever the Winter Olympics were on and they were shown on Channel 4, that messed up his morning routine completely because he watches Channel 4 Everybody Loves Raymond every morning, and it wasn't on, and that messed everything up. So we just had, it's just all about a solid routine. That's the biggest difference. Do I know about Chris Packham? I know of Chris Packham. I used to watch The Really Wild Show. I don't think Andy will take a while to get back into his school routine. There's no way of knowing for sure, but I imagine he'll be fine. I hope he'll be fine. Well, I guess we find out tomorrow. You find out tomorrow at 5 o'clock when I put that video out. What advice would you give someone with autism starting year 10? Well, that's Andy. And Andy's someone with autism starting year 10. And it's the same advice I would give to anybody starting any year. I've given the advice a couple of times over now. Just go into it with an open mind and try your hardest, but don't get too stressed out with it. Does Andy get homework? No. Does Andy watch the You Now streams? No, he doesn't. Does Andy know that he's going to a different school? What do you mean by different? He's going to his school. That's all he knows. To him, it's not a different school. Do you think if Andy's TA leaves, he'll refuse school? Maybe. We'll see, I guess. Andy has played Minecraft. He hasn't played Minecraft for a little while. Why doesn't Andy go to a normal public school? Because it just wouldn't be appropriate for him. He did, and it wasn't appropriate for him. It didn't meet his needs, so he goes to a special school. Would Andy like London? I think Andy would like London. He refuses to go to London, though. We did on our Legoland video that we did earlier in the summer. We actually tried to get him to go to London that day, and you can see his reaction to trying to go to London that day. He wasn't keen on the idea. When did Andy get the Peterborough shirt? Last year sometime, probably. I think it's our away shirt from like 2 years ago. He's had it a while. He's had a couple. He just doesn't wear them very often. He usually bites and picks at the badge because it feels different. But again, part of his development and changes in him is that it didn't bother him wearing it. So he's got a few posh shirts that he could wear now. I always get him one whenever I see him cheap at the end of the season selling off in the shop. I always get him one. What year is Amy in? Amy goes into year 8. She starts year 8 tomorrow. I'm just trying to pick out any more questions that we've got about back to school. Does the government pay for Andy's school? Yeah, just like they pay for every kid's school. Does Andy watch the videos we upload? Yeah, he watches the vlog every day. Does Andy have any friends at school? He has kids that he knows the name of, that he sees a lot. I don't know that you'd class any of them as friends. He doesn't describe them as friends, but maybe one day they'll become friends. How long was Andy not going to school for? He was refusing school for 1.5 years. He's now been back for a year. So last September, the back to school video from last September was the last time he properly refused. And even then we still got him there, but he hadn't gone for 1.5 years before that. The chat just moved really quickly again, and I've lost the question I was about to read. Does Andy get one-to-one support? Yes, he does. Even through break times, lunchtime, he always has a TA with him. What is Andy back to school equipment? He doesn't have any back to school equipment. He just has to take himself all the equipment that's provided at school, which is very, very handy. Werner, thank you very much for the super chat. Back in the borough and Detroit become human. Really like that stream. Deserve one. Thank you very much. And very kind of you to make the donation. Thank you. If you like my non-football manager stuff, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch in like half an hour, and I'm going to be doing 2 Point Hospital over on Twitch. So you might want to come along and watch that. Will Andy do GCSEs? Probably one day, but not at the same age as other kids would. Does Andy like his school? I think he does now. Has Andy ever left anything at school, and how did he react? Not left at school, but he did, not long after he started going back last September, he did leave his DS in the taxi, which he lost it. He was not happy at all. But thankfully, the taxi driver was an absolute legend. And I just sent him a text saying, I hope you're not too far away. And he's left the DS in your taxi. And he drove back from Stamford, which is like 10 miles from where we are. Drove back from there with the taxi. With the DS to give to him. Absolute hero. But he was not very happy about it at all. Lucy's going to college. She starts college tomorrow. Do you think Andy will wear the shirts you bought recently? Not tomorrow. He probably will eventually. We'll certainly try him. Maybe not tomorrow, though. Does Andy get free school lunches, or does he take a packed lunch? And what does he eat at school? He doesn't get free school lunches because we're not on any benefits, so he doesn't qualify for free school lunches. So we send him with packed lunch, but it's a very Andy packed lunch. So we send at the start of each week or every 10 days or so, whenever they run out, we send a box of Rice Krispies, a carton of custard, a load of multi-bags of crisps, a big multi-box of cans of Coke. We send a loaf of bread, some butter, some jam, a whole load of stuff. And then he'll usually have a bowl of Rice Krispies with custard and his vitamin supplement, and he'll have that at break time. And then at lunchtime, he'll have toast with butter and jam, again with a little bit of his vitamin supplement mixed into it at lunchtime. And then if he's hungry on top of that, he'll also have some crisps here and there, maybe a waffle if we send some waffles in for him, and he'll drink his cans of Coke. And we also send little bottles of water in as well. So he gets as varied a diet as school as he does at home. It's still not a particularly varied diet, but it's a lunch for Andy, and it's something that he'll eat, and that's the important thing. Right, we are gonna bring things to a close here, I think, because we were very much on the clock tonight, because I'm going to be streaming on Twitch in about half an hour, and I need to get things set up for that. So I will be streaming on You Now tomorrow night. I'm not sure exactly what time. Anna's at work. It depends what time Andy goes to bed, but tomorrow night I'll be streaming on You Now, so we can keep the conversation going over there. And other than that, I will close things off here. If you have enjoyed this little impromptu back to school Q&A stream, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on it for me. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If for no reason, then to find out 5 o'clock tomorrow night how Andy gets on in the morning, because like I say, we're going to be vlogging that first thing in the morning, editing it during the day and getting that out tomorrow. So tomorrow's video will be whatever happens tomorrow morning. So fingers crossed it'll be a 1-minute video of us saying, yes, he was absolutely fine. We'll see, I guess. Wish us luck, everybody. And thank you for watching. And I will leave you all to the rest of your evening, obviously, apart from the ones who come to join me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/lollujo FM. I'll be live on there in about 25 minutes time. Cheers, folks.